Good morning and welcome to Augment Your Week. Great to be with you this morning on this beautiful Monday morning, coming to you from our home in Bountiful. Got a great name, Bountiful. I have spent this last week pondering the 10 scrolls. I mentioned 2 weeks ago that God is really calling us to make a choice. The choice in our life is what kind of person do we want to be? Do we want to live in hate? Do we want to live in love, etc.? What are the choices we're going to make? I was pondering this, and in the first scroll, Og makes an interesting comment that only principles endure. He says something about experience that some people may not agree with. He says that
in truth, experience teaches thoroughly, yet her course of instruction devours men's years so that the value of her lesson diminishes with time necessary to accomplish her wisdom. In the end, anyway, the bottom line is we can gain a lot of experiences. Sometimes we read and we study and we listen to CDs and we go to seminars and listen to podcasts. The question really comes down, are we applying the principles in our lives to actually create a change? That's really the choice. The choice isn't to study it. The choice is simply to apply it. And he talks about these principles endure, only principles. What is he talking about? Then I began to ponder. By the way, good morning. I'm Dave Blanchard. I'm the CEO of the Mandino companies. I just dove into this because I'm so excited this morning to talk about this. It's great to be with you. I started pondering, again, I've done this in the past, but this weekend was especially significant because of what I learned in Scroll 10. And that is there a purpose in the order in which the scrolls are presented? Is there a purpose? And it becomes crystal clear that these scrolls are built on a foundation, and then everything gets built on that foundation, and we get clearer and clearer and closer to clarity in our lives. I just want us to ponder this for a moment. First of all, this is Og's blueprint for personal success, private success in our own life, where we're feeling a sense of accomplishment and a sense of confidence and purpose. Second of all, it's the blueprint for success in our business life, in all ventures. If we have a business, a career path, etc., relationships, family, all of those pieces. Let's talk about this blueprint in terms of, you see a blueprint about how to build a building. And generally, a blueprint starts with kind of an overview. Then you turn a page to the first page of the foundational print, and then you go to the framing, and then the plumbing and the electrical, and we build the house via a blueprint. Well, scroll number 1 is kind of an overview. And Og says that my habits have caused me to be imprisoned by my future, because I have chosen, that word choose again, I have chosen to surrender my free will, my right to choose. I've surrendered that to those unhealthy habits of thinking. And when I do this, I am imprisoned. So the very first thing he's inviting us to do is take a look at all of our habits and which ones are supporting us, which ones are sabotaging us. And he promises as we begin to practice and develop better habits, we'll wake up with a new vitality we've never known before. We will overcome every fear we once knew at sunrise, and will be happier than we imagined possible in this world of strife and sorrow. The world is not going to change. We're going to change how we show up in the world. That's the basis for beginning to study. And then he says, okay, let's lay the foundation. The foundation is agape love, a heightened level of awareness, truly seeing a person and truly seeing situations and truly seeing ourself truly seeing, not being deluded by bias, prejudice, anger, frustration, really, truly seeing. And there's a real telling piece in there. He says, what will I do with those arrows of hate and anger? He's going to wear my shield of love, just like I do to open the hearts. I'm going to use it to turn those arrows into the softest of rain until I can walk unencumbered without needing the shield. I'm so okay, I'm so whole that I don't take things personally. Why this? Because if someone sends an arrow of hate and anger and we don't have our shield of love up, it hits us in the heart. We take it personally. It hurts until we can get to a point that we don't let that hurt us, that we see people so clearly that our first reaction would be, oh my goodness, they must be having a bad day. They must be struggling with a health issue. Something must be going on, or they wouldn't be acting this way. It's not about me. They're just projecting their frustrations, and I happen to be the closest target. Now, I can tell you, and you know, this takes a little bit of development before we can even do that for a few moments. So we'll want to wear our shield of love. We'll want to silently and to ourselves say, I love you, which unwrinkles our brow, brings a smile to our lips, and echoes in our voice. Can you feel it? It triggers someone's mirror neurons. It's physiological. It's cellular. It's visceral. We have those mirror neurons in our amygdala. They pick up all this sensory data, tone and tenor of voice, posture. You can't fake it till you make it. Og saying, stop all of that. Show up in agape. And when we master this art, until we master this art, we're no more than a peddler in the marketplace. With love alone, agape love, this awareness, we can succeed. And without it, we'll fail, even though we have all the skills and knowledge of the world. Think about all the skills and all the knowledge. We've got the pedigree, we've got the experience. We don't have love, we don't succeed. That is so foundational. So he says, okay, now on this foundation, I'm going to talk to you about the next most critical thing for you and for me. And that is that life is tough. Everybody okay with that? Anybody having one of those moments? Anybody? Am I the only one? If we're having these kinds of moments, this scroll becomes so important. Now we're raising our awareness about people, situations, and ourselves. And now it's time to persist through those challenging times. We're tested like young bulls who are allowed to attack a picador who pricks them with a lance, and the bravery of each bull is tested based on its willingness to charge in spite of the sting of the blade. Just feel that for a moment. What pricks are you getting right now? Do you have some in a relationship? You have some in a business? We were trying to sell our home so that we could buy a home at the lake at Pineview. That's really where we would like to be. It's close here. Our kids can come up frequently. Bear Lake's so far away, it's a bit of a challenge. And oh my goodness, we're getting so tired of the process. Getting all excited, then deflated, all excited, then deflated. I know better than to create expectations, but it's hard not to when someone loves it. And they ask for a $250,000 reduction in the price. Are you kidding me? Where do these people come from? That's how I was feeling over the weekend, right? Then you step into their world. That's all they could afford. Well, then go look at homes that you can afford. Like to be nice, right? We have those pricks. Anybody getting one? Man, I had one with my health recently. Had one trying to sell our house recently. Anybody having these? Just know that you're not being picked on. You're not being singled out. This is just life. And if you see someone who looks like they're not being pricked by that picador, just know they're doing a really good job of covering. Now, I'm pretty vulnerable this morning so that you can really courageously look at your own life. Can you feel this? There's probably nothing more important than love than dealing with this very part of life. Coronavirus, kids now staying home, online school, parents trying to run jobs. Unbelievable. Crazy time. Wear a mask everywhere you go. Uncertainty. Baseball played in empty stadiums. Basketball played in empty stadiums. Basketball, baseball may not survive as coaches and players start to contract the coronavirus or opting out of the season. It's getting really crazy. Those are pricks of a lance. How are we handling them? Are we charging ahead in spite of those? That's how we get tested for the fight arena. To play in the big arena of life, can we withstand that? Can we learn our skill set as the mariner does by learning to ride out the wrath of every storm? At the end of every day, can we do just one more thing to end the day as best as it can be ended so that we can start the next day on a positive note? Can you feel this foundational scroll? I think today, for most of us, I've been around 67 years, been through a few recessions. California was pretty awful in 1989 and 90. That was a tough time, but it pales in comparison to the widespread, almost pandemic crisis that we're feeling because of COVID. This is the time to be studying scroll number 3 and just hanging on. If we get despair, we work on in despair. We struggle. We push forward. We keep our eye on the goal above our head. We ignore the obstacles at our feet, all those challenges. For we know that where dry desert ends, green grass grows. It takes a little while to get to green grass right now, but green grass does grow. Scroll 3, can you feel it? Okay, now we've got awareness about others, situations, and ourselves, and we're persisting. Now Og builds the next piece. It's you. You. Your pricelessness. Your uniqueness. Put it on display in the marketplace. You're here on this earth for a purpose. That purpose is to grow into a mountain, not to shrink to a grain of sand. Henceforth, apply all your efforts until they cry for mercy. Do everything you can to maximize your personal ability. Own your clay. That's your life. Own this. It's what you get. Your choice is what are you going to do with it? Embrace the uniqueness. Then you can find your strengths. You don't find them first. You find them as you embrace your life. And you choose to take what is, no matter how awful it could be in the moment, and move it a millimeter forward and celebrate. A millimeter forward and celebrate. Wow. Have we been sold an easy button? Have we been sold fantasy, travel the beaches of the world, time freedom, financial freedom, all those thought processes that have kept us from getting focused on the blueprint to build success? Awareness, persistence, uniqueness. Can you feel it? And then with those in place, it's time to talk about time. This moment is my eternity. This is when we reach out and touch the timeline of our life. Do we choose to live present in the now, or do we spend our time in the past, lamenting mistakes, or in the future, fantasizing about what we'd like to do, as Og says, trying to put tomorrow's gold in today's purse? If we're throwing good today after bad because of past mistakes, and we now destroy today because of that, or we destroy today trying to worry about tomorrow, We've missed the only time we have to improve our circumstances today. Because 24 hours from now, it's still today. A week from now, it's still today. Can you see the sequence of this? Awareness, persistence, your uniqueness, and now living present in the now. Then what happens? We start to become aware in the now of our emotions. And Og says that trees and plants depend on the weather, but yea, I make my own weather, I carry it with me. If I bring rain and gloom and doom and pessimism, people will not buy my goods. I can make allowances for someone's anger today, for they know not the secret of controlling their mind. The truth is, we're just learning how to control ours, right? It means we're not always going to have perfect days, but when we are, we can have more allowance for someone else, because today they won't buy a gold chariot for a penny. Put that in perspective. A $15 million chariot they won't buy for a penny. Got that? But tomorrow, they'll exchange their house, the $2 million house, for a tree that can sort of protect them from the rain, but probably attracts lightning. Just think about that. What a great message. So how do we show up? What can we do to shift it? And how can we be more tolerant of other people when they're in a bad space? Can you feel that sequence? And now, as we're working, so I'm actually naturally going to 7. I'll laugh at the world. This too shall pass. Man is most comical when he can't laugh at himself. That when we laugh, our digestion improves, and so does the length of our life. So with all of these things, awareness, persistence, uniqueness, living in the now, managing our emotions, now we get to laugh. Just pause for a moment and have a good laugh. It's cathartic, it's cleansing. It's a way to get that cortisol surge cleansed out of your body. So we laugh. And now we're finally ready to multiply our value 100-fold. It's time to learn how to be results driven. Not focused on time, not focused on energy, not focused on hard, not focused on busy, focused on results. We must have objectives before our life will crystallize. We set goals and we have objectives that we meet, results we're going to create on a daily basis to get us closer and closer and closer to our goals. When we are focused on results, we start cutting out the crap. Yes. Crazy experience this weekend. Had the house identified we wanted in Huntsville. We thought we had an offer on this one. It turned out to be crazy. But they were waiting for us. They finally accepted the offer. They accepted, and the house is sold. That's not an option anymore. I spent a fair amount of time figuring out what I wanted to do to that house to get it exactly the way I would like it, and came up with some really creative ideas. In the end, this was the decision yesterday. That was a great exercise in problem solving. The thrill was not buying the house and actually executing. It was thrilling to find a solution to a problem that nobody else had ever found. That was kind of fun. Okay, great exercise. Now I'm going to take that gifting and apply it to the next piece of whatever. And had a delightful time yesterday exploring possibilities and just letting those several weeks, yes, weeks of planning and preparation just go. Because to stew on something very long is a waste of time. If we're going to multiply our value 100-fold, we'll want to make sure that every minute from scroll 5, maximizing our time, is spent doing something productive that's moving us one step closer to the result. We're compared to that grain of wheat. We can be dumped in a stall, fed to the swine, waste our life. We can be ground into flour, made into bread, broken open to devoured by the will of others. Or we can choose to be planted in the darkness of the soil. Think about that. Our awareness, our persistence, our uniqueness, living present in the now, mastering our emotions, and laughing at those kinds of circumstances. This too shall pass. We're now in the darkness of the soil in order to ripen. Etymologically means to mature. Are we ready to mature? Those pieces in place, we're finally ready to take on perturbation, the heat, the pressure that's put on that seed to soften its shell and have it split open and grow. And as I've said before, everything that grows was already in that seed. It just needed to break open to sprout. It breaks open through the soil to the sunlight of success and grows into 100 grains of wheat from one. It didn't have to be the 100. It just naturally grew into the 100. It wasn't working 100 times harder. It was just being 100 times more effective. Getting rid of 99 emotional crises in a day so that the time could be spent more effectively. I know that the day I decided to stop worrying, I think I shared that once. I asked a friend what it would be like if he stopped worrying, and he said I'd be non-existent. I grew up in a family of worriers. The celebration was when it didn't turn out as bad as we feared it might. That's when we got to celebrate. I don't know how you grew up. Have you been a worrier? Because worrying occupies enormous amounts of time. I know I found 3 more hours in my day, probably easy 3 hours in my day of more productive, could be spent more productively. That's multiplying your value. Now, we move to scroll 9. Because if we get all of this, Og starts 9 with a powerful statement. My dreams are worthless. My plans are dust. My goals are impossible. All are of no value, no, completely zip, gone, no value, unless they are followed by action. I will act without hesitation, and the flutters in my heart will vanish. Now I know that action turns a lion of terror into an ant of equanimity, peace of mind. I hunger for success. I thirst for happiness and peace of mind. Unless I act, I will perish in a life of failure, misery, and sleepless nights. I will command, and I will obey my own command. I will act now. Now that's really the meat of it. Then we get to scroll 10. I'll seek guidance. There's a couple of tough statements in here that I really needed this weekend. Never will I pray for material things of the world. He says, who is there in a time of crisis does not cry out to their God? Whoever your God is. No offense. Never will I pray for the material things of the world. I'm not calling to a servant to bring me food. I'm not ordering an innkeeper to provide me with room. Never will I seek the delivery of gold, love, good health, petty victories, fame, success, or happiness. Only for guidance will I pray, that I may be shown the way to acquire these things. And he says later, to acquire the ability equal to that opportunity. So we focus on a prayer to acquire ability to see the opportunity and to be able to take advantage of it, not to have it just given to us. And my prayer will always be answered. The one I needed to hear this weekend, and maybe you do too, and it may be the reason why I was inspired to have this conversation. The guidance I seek may come, or the guidance I seek may not come. But are not both of these an answer? If a child seeks bread from his father and is not forthcoming, has not his father answered? Isn't that powerful? Maybe something we thought isn't what we're supposed to do. You ever in that place? The guidance may come and the guidance may not come, but are not both an answer? So look at these scrolls. I want to encourage you to see them perhaps differently than you ever have before. A blueprint for your personal success, your relationship and business success, and begin the journey. Read scroll 1 just a couple of times, just so you understand why you're doing it. It's like a bookend. 10's a bookend. I'll seek that guidance. And if you go through scroll 10, he's basically saying, help me to love, help me to be persistent. Got it? Help me to embrace my uniqueness, help me to stay present in the now, help me to master my emotions and laugh at the challenges that I face and multiply my value. He's just summing it up. Help me to do these things. Acquire this ability. But 2 through 9, that's your meat. You just see how 1 builds on the next and builds on the next to bless your life. And then begin with scroll 2. Challenge is simple. 3 times a day. Feed your soul. Raise your awareness. For 30 days. You get to skip Saturday and Sunday. You'd be amazed to read some of the emails I receive from people who have actually done this or did it decades ago, and it's impacted every facet of their life. And go on Amazon and get a copy of The Greatest Secret, which is the journalized version for studying the scrolls. Like $6.50 or something. It's not very expensive. Get that and begin your journey. Because 10 months from now, you'll be one of those people sending me an email. Blessings, everyone. Have the best week of your life, and I look forward to being back with you next Monday.